Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females magic.
When I first started my GLP-1 weight loss journey, it was all about the numbers on the scale for me. That's what I thought mattered. And I was determined to see results. I had this image in my head that once I hit a certain weight, everything else would just magically fall into place. And I'd shake this feeling of exterior inadequacy and finally be at peace back in a body that I recognized. But an unexpected realization happened along the way. I'm not just losing weight. I'm rebuilding a relationship with myself. You know, at this age, this big age of 54, I thought I was settled into what and who I was. But I didn't realize how much mental space food addiction took up, preventing me from evolving. Being on Zepbound, helped me slow the mental chatter and made it easier to listen to other things around me. It helped me to listen to my body. It helped me to realize I was eating just because I was bored or because I had formed these patterns of, oh, it's 1 o'clock, time for lunch, even though I wasn't really hungry. Or it's Sunday, so I have to cook a large meal complete with peach cobbler and vanilla ice cream. Breaking those patterns has been a victory for me. I'm beginning to realize the real transformation isn't physical. It's emotional, mental, and a positive self-rebranding, I call it. Somewhere in this process, I realized I wasn't just carrying extra pounds. I was carrying a lot of emotional baggage. I was carrying around years of guilt and shame, including past decisions made that resulted in terrible consequences and altered the trajectory of my life. There were years of feeling like I wasn't enough unless I looked a certain way because I had always been thin. I remember being married to my second husband that had a high profile career and, it required attending business events and networking dinners and functions and all kind of stuff all the time. He'd always take me with him and I'd reluctantly go, smiling and dressed to the nines, doing my best despite being overweight. But inside, I felt completely inadequate. Because the other wives were always thinner than I was. I couldn't help but to compare myself to them. No matter how hard I tried not to, I did. I'm like so embarrassed to tell you guys this story, but it's a part of my journey that, I've just come to the realization about so much. But I remember saran wrapping myself. My midsection and my thighs before I went to these events. It's like sick, I know, but I did. hoping to squeeze myself into this slimmer silhouette. You know how the young people say, I wanted my waist to be snatched as much as I could anyway. It's kind of more like a burrito. As if shrinking my waist would somehow make me feel better. That pressure, that heavy pressure on my back was unbearable at times. Never from my husband. He was always very sweet. But from this unspoken standard I felt I was failing to meet. And recently, as the weight has begun to drop and the numbers on the scale are dropping, getting lower and lower, so has some of that emotional baggage. Of course, not all of it. I have more than I realized. And I know it's not a magical fix, but gradually, moment by moment, meal by meal, and day by day, it's getting better, and those insecurities are falling away. And once I started really tuning in, not just to what I was eating, but why I was eating it, I discovered how much of my relationship with food was tied to my relationship with myself, and how I was using it as a crutch. Food had been a comfortable distraction and a shield from the horrors of my own mind, memories, and realities. It had been punishment and reward, all rolled into one. And when I started, pulling that apart, my thoughts began to shift. I thought about things that deeply hurt me. I mean, all the way back to, that 15, 16-year-old girl trying to learn herself and trying to navigate pre-adulthood, growing and making mistakes and navigating my environment. I almost feel like the mental clarity I'm experiencing on this weight loss journey has created a spiritual awakening of sorts. And I know that sounds like super dramatic, but it's really how I feel. Mentally, I feel like I'm doing spring cleaning that hasn't been done in over 25 years. Yeah, I feel like I'm more grounded, like a fog has lifted. I'm no longer stuck in this cycle of overeating and then shaming myself for it. I feel lighter in every sense of the word, not just in my body, but in spirit. And the beauty of it is, it shows up in all exterior features. Not just because I'm getting smaller and cuter, but because I'm getting healthier. My hair and nails have never looked better. My skin hasn't been this clear in I don't know how long. And let's not mention sleeping better and having more energy. I realize that when you start treating yourself with care, when you're mindful of what you're putting in your body, and when you stop punishing yourself with food or restriction, it creates this ripple effect. Mental clarity, emotional balance, a kind of calm that I haven't felt in years. I've come to understand that real wellness isn't a number. It's a feeling. It's waking up and feeling at home in your body, clear in your mind, and kind to your soul. But of course, you want to also look good. That's like an added bonus to yourself and others. And that's real transformation. For those of you who are on your weight loss journeys, have you noticed mental clarity? Is it just me? Have you noticed that you feel differently? Not just in weight, but in everything. Well, you guys let us know if you can, relate to anything that I've said here today. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in a few days.
Baby girl,